Have you ever met the guy that you wanted to hate? And when you went to pull your straps up, he told you to wait. Now let me give y'all a little demonstration. See, I ran into these dudes from the Aryan Nation. It was a Friday, my day, ended off the highway, being derelict in the caddy, yo, the flyway. Went to get a package of beats. I was enjoying this immaculate evening. All of a sudden I heard somebody in the back of us beeping. Kind of annoying, like a track is repeating. They ammo, harass some blacks this weekend. Woman and D, we was actually creeping like some G's. We parked. I ain't never sleeping like MDs. Then I felt this crazy vibe, and I'm thinking maybe why. Enter a white crazy guy with crazy eyes and a partner ready to start the Armageddon. F around and get deaded by the arm, leg on my head. Don't wanna have to go to war like this was Mecca. I'm only trying to broaden your perspective. We're back to the lecture.
Peace and love, peace and love. This is yours truly, General Pow Shadowz of the House of Hip Step, also known as author P.E.McCallum, author of the book NGR. What does it mean? An expose on the N-word from a hip-hop perspective, where I dive deep into the origins, the etymology of the N-word. Not only that, but also the social issues, race relation issues surrounding the N-word. You know what I'm saying? And that's what today's video is about. We're back with another good and informative video. And today we're talking more about the social ramifications of the word and how it relates to us as a society. And so today we're going to be doing a little something different on the platform. I'm going to be reviewing a video from Panda Chop TV, salute to Panda Chop TV, and an interview that he did with an MC by the name of Copywrite. Now, Copywrite is a quote-unquote white rapper, person of European descent, and this guy's very sharp. He's very dope with the lyrics, first of all, you know what I'm saying? And by the way, that song that was playing is called Cool, K-O-O-L, and it's from the NGR project, which is the music project to go along with the book. All right, so check that out on your streaming platforms. But Copywrite is a dope MC, and he has a very dope take and perspective on white rappers using the N-word, and we're gonna dig into that today in this interview. This section of the interview entitled Copyright on White Rappers Using the N-Word on Panda Chop TV. So we're going to do that. And that song that was playing again is called Cool. Make sure you check out the NGR project, the music project to go along with the book, because we are discussing the N-word from a hip-hop perspective on this platform. We are doing it from a hip-hop perspective. So with no further ado, we're going to dive into this video in this interview on Panda Chop TV, you know what I'm saying? And listen to what Copyright has to say, because he's got a very, very interesting perspective on white rappers using the N-word. So let's go.
Back to SO, but he criticized you for being white and using the N-word. Now, there was a time in hip-hop where that was a little more accepted for white people to use that word. Like Necro, in our interview, he said that, you know, he has footage of him in the early 90s on stage using the N-word, and everybody was okay with it. Like, but as time went on, it seemed to be more of an issue.
I grew up.
All right, first of all, let's start this video off right. Let's get this right off the jump, all right? Okay. I find that very interesting that he said back in the 90s it was more acceptable for white rappers to use the N-word in their rhymes. I was there. I was there. And I gotta admit, it wasn't that acceptable for white rappers to use the N-word, at least not in the South. And I was down here in the South, in Tennessee and in Atlanta, and all these areas, Alabama, and all down here in the South, Mississippi, all right? And it wasn't cool for white rappers to use the N-word. Maybe up north in New York, because, you know, New York and the Northeast, they got their own politics and everything going on up there, so maybe it was acceptable, but salute to Necro, but Necro is another white rapper that gave a great, and y'all know why I put white in parentheses. I also put black in parentheses. Y'all go back and look at my other videos to find out why. But Necro also had a good take on the N-word as well. But yeah, I don't know that would fly. So I'm a little bit in disagreement with that. But I will say this. I wonder how many white rappers that use the N-word, like Necro and like Copyright used to, knew what the N-word stands for, or knew the meaning of the N-word, the true meaning, where it comes from. Like we discussed on this platform, the N-word comes from NGR, the title of my book. NGR is an ancient Kemetic or Egyptian term, which is found in the hieroglyphics. Author E.A. Wallace Budge, in his book, An Egyptian Hieroglyphic Dictionary, lists over 14 definitions for NGR, which is the origins of the N-word, because in hieroglyphics, they did not use vowels, only consonants. All right, NGR. And it meant emperor. Well, actually, it meant more like divinity, deity, but it was an attribute applied to the rulers, the emperors, the kings and queens. All right, in ancient Ethiopia or ancient Kush, the land of Kush, which is the original term for Ethiopia, you have the word, the Giz word, right? The Giz word, which is Negus, NGS, which means monarch or ruler of the land. All right, so I wonder if I'm pretty sure that these rappers of European descent don't even know that when they're using the N-word, it's not just something cool that they saying, but they actually calling the person a king, or deifying the person and putting them in a high position. So remember that whenever you use the N-word, it originally comes from, you're actually giving a person a compliment and don't even know it half the time.
With an identity crisis, my self-image, I saw myself as a black person, and I don't think if I didn't have that distorted self-image, I don't know that I would have kept rapping, to be quite frank with you.
Yo, hold on, that's deep. Let's unpack that, fam. He said he saw himself as a black person. Man, just think about that for a second. And it takes a lot of guts to admit that. You know what I'm saying? That you thought that way. That's him being real honest and vulnerable to his thoughts and ideas and where he came from. And that's deep. The psychology of that is deep. But I imagine, every kid, when you look up to an artist or you look up to somebody, an entertainer, you want to be like that person, all the way up to you want to be the same culture that person comes from. But it seems to be more in the reverse. It seems to be like, I don't know a lot of little black and indigenous children who idolize white artists and want to be like I liked coming up, I liked George, the guy that sang Faith. I got to have faith. Or say I like coming up, I was a big fan of Bob Dylan. When I discovered Bob Dylan's poetic music, I was a fan, but I didn't want to be like him. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be like Wham. That was George. I can't think of his last name. I think George Harrison or something. But the group Wham. I used to like that song, but I didn't want to be like that. So it's psychological. But yeah, that's deep though. Let's go.
That's where that stems from, if we want to be completely honest, from a psychological standpoint. So it took me a while, and then growing up.
But wait, when you say that though, right?
Growing up,
are you talking about like you physically seeing that when you look in the mirror, or like you identified with it?
Not physically, not physically. I completely identified with it, and I wanted to be, but not visually in the mirror, literally, but like. That's how how like if you're somewhere, you have a self-awareness image of who you are and stuff. Mine was of another character that I created in my head, I guess, and this character happens to rap. This person happens, so that's basically
that could just also be like escapism, because a lot of the times we want to escape our reality. We're not satisfied with our reality. And but the funny thing about like black and indigenous culture is a lot of people of European descent, a lot of white people, they look up to black culture. They idolize our culture, even though, and it's been said a lot that the black and indigenous people get treated the worst in the country, but yet everybody idolizes our culture and they want to be like us. It's like there's a saying, they say a lot of times white people want to be they want to be like us, but they don't want to be us, you know, because a lot comes with that, with being black. But very interesting though. Let's go.
Basically, I felt I did the ignorant thing of having black friends and me thinking that it was ever okay, just because they'll say it to me or give me the okay to say anything or any of that shit. That doesn't give anybody an okay. You know what I'm saying? No matter who. So I was young as fuck and based.
Like he said, that doesn't give anybody an okay to use that. You know what I'm saying? And that reminds me of a section in my book. Again, NGR, what does it mean? An expose on the N-word from a hip-hop perspective, available on Amazon in audiobook, paperback, and Kindle, right? And I have a section in here on page 164 called At Your Own Risk. It's like, remember that old King T? At your own risk. I gotta sing it every time. Anyway, and it goes like this. Is it okay for whites to use the N-word? I revisit this question throughout this work because it's important, but it also has no right or wrong answer. This is a question one must ask and answer for themselves. So again, this expose is not meant to answer these questions for you or attempt to tell you what to think about the N-word, because in the words of Black Sheep, the choice is yours. You could get with this. Anyway, I want to be clear when I ask whether it is okay for whites to use the N-word. I think the underlying question is, how will black people respond if a white person uses the N-word? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know how blacks will respond, especially if you've lived in the United States for a decent amount of time. The outcome will most likely not be favorable. Then the other question is, knowing that it originated in Africa with black and indigenous people and that it initially meant emperor, ruler, king, empress, queen, etc., also deity. Is it now okay for a white person to use the N-word if they use it in its original form, NGR? See, now we're getting deep. Like I said on NGR2, Nagusa Power, ask people what they want to be called, especially if you never met that person at all. So that is an excerpt taken from my book, NGR, What Does It Mean? And what I'm saying is that essentially, white people need to be white rappers and we're talking about white rappers, need to be sensitive when you're using the N-word because of the deep history of it. You know what I'm saying? And whenever you use it, you're using it at the risk of offending a black and indigenous person up to the point where they may get really upset and may even get violent. You know, I remember that reminds me of a story that I talk about in my book where here in Tennessee is where I'm located, in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, about 30 minutes south of Nashville. I was at a rave, a house rave at a house. It was a rave at a house, and this was an event where some of my white friends were meeting some of my black friends, and this was like kind of like the first time that this happened, and they were meeting each other in the same place for the first time, and real unfortunate situation where this white kid that I knew that was down with our crew or whatever that I was hanging out with at the time, he liked to think that he was like cool with black people, and he would always tell me, you know, that he grew up around black people in the hood and that they gave him a pass on using the N-word and that this is just kind of like how he talked. So I would tell him, like, you know, man, that's, you know, I don't know about that, you know, I hear you, but you know, that could go either way. I would tell him that, you know, be honest with him. And so we're at this rave, and some of my black friends show up, and this was a real unfortunate situation. The guy, I guess he was trying to, the white guy was trying to be cool, and he was trying to, like, I don't know, impress my black friends or whatever, but I'm on the other side of the house, not even knowing. I'm totally unaware my friends are even there. My black friends even showed up because they usually didn't come to the raves, you know, where I'd be at MCing. I would MC at these raves. And I would never see them, but I guess they heard that I was there, so they came. If there was a big hip hop event that was mixed, and everybody was there, and after that event, we were going to the rave after party kind of thing. And they heard that I was going to be there, so they showed up. They got wind of it, and when they came, they was talking to the guy. He was using the N-word in their conversation, and as they're getting to meet each other, and he's trying to be cool, and they know him, they're getting to know him, and everything's going fine, and I think they were even like smoking a bowl of a herb, and you know, they sharing a peace pipe, you know what I'm saying? So everything should have been peace, right? You got the peace pipe, it should be peace, right? But nah, it was the opposite, fam, and he started throwing the N-word around in a cool fashion, like, you know, like my, you know, nigga, you know what I'm saying? Niggas, you know, my nigga, what's up? And like in that way. And then they like, yo, man, don't use that word like that. You know what I'm saying? We know you know, we don't, that's not cool. And then I know the guy, he was a little bit cocky. He's kind of arrogant at that time. This was 20 years ago. So, you know, I'm sure he's matured now, but at that time, and he was like, nah, man, you know, I grew up around black people. I grew up around niggas and this and that. And from what I hear is what happened. Again, I'm on the other side of the house, and they put the beats on him. But as they was putting the beats on him, the peace pipe that they were smoking on hit the ground. Bam! And when it hit the ground, it crashed. And it broke, shattered into pieces, and it left glass pieces. So in real time, he grabbed one of those pieces of glass as he's being jumped by my black friends, and he gets the best of one of them, cuts him in the neck, and really cut him really bad. You know, he's fighting for his life. Ain't nobody trying to get jumped, right? So he ends up in ICU, and left a big keloid scar on his neck, and he almost died. So that was a lesson to both parties. You know, first to my white homie, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. You know, it could end badly. And then to my black homies, you know, we can't be I also talk about how we have to control our anger. We have to control the narrative. That's why I want everybody to get the book, because once you know where the N-word comes from, that it comes from, you know, from the ancient lands of Africa, and it meant something positive, aggrandizing, emperor, ruler, king, divinity, deity. And in Nigeria, you have the word Nga, N-G-A, which means place of God. You know what I'm saying? So it's always representing the divine. And we could control the narrative and not get triggered when people say it to us and it's used. But yeah, and then it's a lesson to the, you know, to my black friends, you know, not to overreact. A lesson to my white friends, not to be mindful. White people should be mindful, and then black people should not overreact. So I learned a little something from both of those guys in that instance. Let's go.
Basically was thinking it was okay and shit, basically. But mine was from a, I basically wished I was black for real. So it was more of I want to be Down syndrome than anything for real at the core of it. But yeah.
Did y'all catch that? He said it was more I want to be Down syndrome. That was a clever play on words. That was like a triple entendre. I want to be Down syndrome. That was a triple entendre. So it's like, I want to be down, and it's a syndrome. There's a disease. It's like there's an illness for one to be down. Huh, clever.
There was a battle where I battled some kid named Prism Sadistic in New York, or I'm sorry, Chicago. And I battled him in the street after I was on tour with like Smut Peddlers in Cage. And somebody videotaped it. You might still be able to find it on YouTube and shit. And I did say that that's where I dropped the N-bomb and shit. And I think, listen, if you listen to Table Scraps and you listen to Combustion Spontaneous and you listen to The Funnel, I dropped the N-bomb in once in each song, each of those things. And then Camus ad-libs me, which does not help the ignorance that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Because then that's like I feel like that's encouragement and shit. But yeah, now this is something that I've noticed in other white people that I've met and shit that maybe grew up similar to me. This is a thing that a lot of us go through. The only difference is some of us realize it and stop it. Well, some of us realize it as we're growing up, and we're like, damn, like this, like you realize like, that's corny as fuck. I can't believe I was doing that. You're like, man, I can't do nothing but just stop doing the shit.
Third party value out.
Yeah.
All my people of European descent watching the platform right now, watching this program, please leave a comment. If you so feel moved to do so, and let me know, is that a thing in the white community? You know, is there a lot of white kids wanting to be black out there? Is that a thing? Let me know in the comments. I don't know.
For whatever reason, sometimes you either just grow out of it or you don't. I know. Listen, man.
Doesn't seem like it, but let me know.
In jail, there's so many white people that say it, and I'm like,
in jail, huh?
Crazy.
A lot of white people.
Insane. Like to not even have the self-awareness that
a lot of white people say it in jail. Apparently, I guess jail is the prison industrial complex. You got all these black and indigenous folk that populate and dominate it. And, you got the white kids, the minority, they probably really want to have I want to be Down syndrome when they get in there because, for protection and just overall safety. So I guess he found that they really use it in jail. Interesting. No.
Offend somebody or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a ballsy move, man. And
I don't think it's just white people, though. I think that it's all people, but it's most offensive when it's coming from white people because of the history of slavery and everything, right? Because like I've seen it used in like Asian rappers, like other Latinos, like Mexicans,
yeah.
All different types of people say because we grew up in the hood, it was always said around us, it became part of our vernacular and everything, and it's like the whole close proximity to black people being the reason why it's justifiable, right?
Right, exactly.
But I've also seen people later on in life, like you're saying, be like, yeah, I don't use that word anymore, even though I used to say it all the time.
I didn't say it all the time, but I definitely, you know what I'm saying? There definitely were times. I wouldn't go as far as saying I said it all the time, but I definitely would say it here and there and shit. But yeah, that's all you could do is own up to it because, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy. Once you learn, it's almost like this, right? It's like you're getting like, let's say you're getting a check for $5,000 every week, right? You're like, this is cool. I'm just getting this $5,000 check. But then later on, you realize that a woman is getting murdered every week that you get this check, and this is like part of her insurance thing. And it's a Ponzi scheme. Then you're like, well, damn, this $5,000 feels fucked up because I know how it's coming to me. I can't even enjoy this shit. But once you realize the like white kids, and this is how I was, they think it's cool because they see people who are allowed to use that word using it, and they make it sound cool and shit like that, and you get intrigued with it because you love this rap culture and like and it's, you know what I mean? You just get
that's
caught
what
up in
we
all
saying.
This shit, but then you don't.
That's what I was saying earlier. Like when you love a culture, you get so immersed in it, you might start talking like the people that you're listening to. You start acting like them. You know what I'm saying? I think that can happen to anybody though. That's pretty normal, But it gets deeper when you start going to a place where you think you can start sharing their experiences, you know what I'm saying? So you could do everything that they do. And in the ideal world, you should be able to, do what black rappers are doing. If black rappers are using the N-word and you're a rapper and it's the cool thing to say within the culture, you start to feel like you should be able to say it, like you should have a pass for that. You feel like, I can see how you might, feel like that, but that's not how that works now, is it?
You do know, because who the fuck doesn't know about racism except for dumbass Lil Wayne, right? But you or so he claims. But like once you realize, like, and you think about this shit, you're like, man, this is fucked up. This is fucked up, man. It doesn't matter who I am, who I grew up with.
And like, because it was just you and your homies hanging out and like freestyling.
Skip a little bit.
That it easily came up like that too for you though, right? Like that was one of the situations.
Yeah. Like the times that it did, yeah. It wasn't like I was ever in a like angry yelling or talking about something or something. It would usually be like us doing like silly character freestyles and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or us clowning some like a stranger, but like maybe like just talking about like a white manager. I acknowledge that.
I think that the excuse that a lot of times people use though is them saying that they use it as a term of endearment. But then you also hear them use it in the negative way by calling someone a bitch ass. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a term of endearment if you're using it the other way too, though. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really not though.
A non-black person can't. Here's my theory on that. A non-black person can't use it as a term of endearment because it's not interchangeable. You can't call, you know what I'm saying? You both are not in the same club, so to speak. You feel me? Like, it's not like, I'm Italian. If somebody calls me I'm gonna laugh, you know what I'm saying? But if it's like somebody that I think is like being racist, I'm not gonna laugh, you know what I'm saying? Just like a gay person could call somebody else a certain word, or a female can call a girl, oh, bitch, please, like, because they're females, so they don't take. They both deal with the hardships of being in this group, so they relate, so they can, you know what I'm saying? It's completely different though. But you know, again, it took me a while, bro. I grew up. I was literally, when I first moved back here, I was the only white person in the neighborhood besides my sister and my mom. There may have been other people that didn't have kids, so they didn't register. There were maybe people who we threw rocks through their windows.
Heavy black and indigenous influence.
So I really had a lot of work cut out from like just unhealthy mental things that I developed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so yo, peace to my man Copywrite the MC. I met Copywrite back in the day, man, hosting Urban Underground in LA. Salute to you, Copywrite. You know what I'm saying? We rode around bumping hip hop, talking hip hop, and he seemed like a real genuine brother, you know what I'm saying? But we'll leave it right there. You know what I'm saying? If you want to see the rest of the video, and I encourage you to run over to Panda Chop TV, subscribe and support his channel. Peace, Panda Chop. I like what you're doing over there. And peace to you, Copywrite, man, for your honesty and giving us some real jewels and gems in this interview today, and taking us deeper into the psyche of a white rapper. And what because I'll be wanting to know, like, what are y'all thinking? What are you thinking? Where's that coming from? So I think that sums it up really well. I think he gave a real good explanation of why white rappers use the N-word. You know what I'm saying? I want to remind these white rappers, as you use the N-word, and all white people, remember the N-word comes from NGR, in ancient Kemet, which is now called Egypt. And it was found in the hieroglyphics over 14 times. And it meant, it references divinity, deity, you know what I'm saying? Emperor, the rulers, the kings and queens, and gods and goddesses of the ancient African lands were called the niggas, all right? That's where it originated from. And then, of course, as the Greeks developed it and incorporated into Latin, it became black. Niger is Latin for black. And then Negro is Spanish for black. So you can see these are the origins of the N-word. Get my book, y'all. NGR, What Does It Mean? To learn more. An expose on the N-word from a hip-hop perspective. Available on Amazon and audiobook, paperback, and Kindle, yo. Most important of all, today, as you move around, keep hip stepping. Don't let nobody slow down your hip step, all right? That means that any obstacles that get in your way, hip step over those obstacles. You know, any ops, any opposition, you know what I'm saying? Hip step over that. You know what I mean? And the only way that we gonna help heal from the effects of racism and white supremacy in this country is to spread love, not hate, all right? Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Like, share this video, all right? And I'm out. Spread love, not hate.